You are harassing me! You boys are done!
Ma'am, put your hands behind your back.
This is part 3. Let's go. The next morning, I walked through the precinct hallway with purpose, the hate mail secure in my briefcase. I needed someone higher up on my side, someone I could trust. Lieutenant Mark Harris's office door was open. I could see him reviewing reports at his desk, his reading glasses perched on his nose. "Got a minute, Mark?" I asked, knocking lightly on the doorframe. Harris looked up with his characteristic easy smile. "For you? Always, Captain." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Close the door." I settled into the chair, studying my old friend's face. I'd known Mark Harris for 15 years. We'd worked countless cases together. He'd backed my promotion to captain, stood up for me when others questioned my leadership. If anyone in this building would help me, it was Mark. "I need to show you something," I said, pulling out the threatening letters. This was in my mailbox last night. Harris's expression darkened as he examined the hate mail. His jaw tightened at the photo with the crosshairs. "Jesus, Denise! Have you reported this?" "To who?" I leaned forward. "Mark, this goes deeper than just Rains and that mall incident. I've been digging, and there's a pattern. False arrests, coerced pleas, all feeding into this private probation racket." "That's a serious accusation." Harris set the letters down carefully. "You have proof?" "Building it. I've got victim statements, financial records showing suspicious payments, and now these threats." I tapped the letters. "Someone's scared enough to try intimidating me." Harris rubbed his temples. "Look, you know I've always had your back. But this kind of investigation, it could shake the whole department. It needs shaking." My voice hardened. "You've seen how Rains operates, how many complaints we've buried. This isn't just about dirty cops. It's systematic exploitation." "I hear you." Harris stood, pacing behind his desk. "You're right. This needs to be investigated properly, but we need to be smart about it." He turned to face me. "Let me help. I can quietly put out some feelers. See who else might be willing to step forward." Relief flooded through me. "Thanks, Mark. I knew I could count on you." "Always." He smiled warmly. "Just watch yourself, okay? Maybe stay with family for a few days until we figure out who sent these threats." "I'm not hiding," I said firmly. "That's what they want." Stubborn as ever. Harris shook his head fondly. "At least let me assign a patrol car to drive by your house regularly." "I can handle myself." I gathered the letters. "But thanks. It helps knowing you're in my corner." "We look out for our own," Harris assured me. "Keep me updated on what you find." The rest of my day passed in a blur of routine duties and careful evidence gathering. I made copies of key documents, stored them in secure locations. Too many records had a way of disappearing in cases like this. It was after midnight when I finally headed home. The street was quiet, crickets chirping in the warm summer air. I pulled into my driveway, the automatic lights illuminating my usual parking spot. The harsh glare revealed angry red letters sprayed across my car's hood and doors. "Traitor." I froze, keys in hand. The paint was still wet, dripping down the white surface of my sedan like blood. My mind raced through possibilities. The timing, the message. This wasn't random vandalism. I did a quick scan of my surroundings, hand instinctively moving toward my holster. Nothing moved in the shadows. Whoever did this was long gone. With trembling fingers, I took photos of the damage. Then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The vandals had keyed a message into the paint on the driver's side door. "Keep your mouth shut, Captain." Only someone from the department would know my rank. Only someone inside would know I was investigating. I thought of everyone I'd talked to about the case. Maya, the coalition members, Carla, Harris. My conversation with Harris replayed in my mind. He'd offered to put out feelers. Asked who else knew about my investigation. Damn it, I whispered. I'd handed him everything. The evidence I'd found. The names of potential witnesses. If he was working with Rains. Inside my house, I dropped heavily into a kitchen chair. My badge sat on the table where I'd left it that morning. The gold shield caught the light, throwing shadows across the wall. 20 years. I'd worn that badge for 20 years, believed in what it stood for, defended the department against accusations of systemic racism, convinced myself that change would come from within. Now I stared at the symbol of everything I'd dedicated my life to and wondered if the rot went all the way through, if there was anything left worth saving. The shield blurred as tears of rage and betrayal threatened. I blinked them back. No time for self-pity. I had decisions to make. Trust no one in the department. Document everything. Build the case quietly until I had ironclad proof. The vandals had made one thing crystal clear. I was on my own inside these walls. My phone buzzed, making me jump. A text from Maya. Need to meet. Big break. The usual spot. 20 minutes? I grabbed my keys and headed back out into the night. Jerry's diner was nearly empty when I arrived. Maya sat in our usual back booth, her messenger bag clutched tight against her side. Her eyes darted around the diner before she leaned forward. Sorry to call so late, Maya said as I slid into the booth. But you're going to want to see this. She pulled out a manila envelope, keeping it below table level. Remember that source I mentioned? The one inside mall management? They came through big time. Maya slid the envelope across to me. I opened it carefully, pulling out several sheets of corporate letterhead. My eyes widened as I scanned the first page. This is internal memos from the mall's board meetings. Maya finished, her voice barely above a whisper. Dating back 18 months. Look at page 3. I flipped to the indicated page. The memo detailed loss prevention initiatives, corporate speak for security protocols. But as I read further, my hands began to shake. The document laid out explicit instructions for security to target high-risk demographics, a thin veil for racial profiling. It included quotes from meetings where board members discussed coordinating with local police to maximize enforcement opportunities. They were working with Rains directly, Maya explained, tapping a highlighted section. The board approved bonuses for security staff based on arrest numbers. They knew exactly what they were doing. I read further. The memo detailed how arrests would feed into the private probation system, New Horizons Supervision Services. The mall's parent corporation owned a controlling stake. It's all here, I breathed. The whole pipeline. They weren't just allowing racial profiling, they were incentivizing it, turning it into profit. Maya nodded grimly. Every false arrest meant another person forced into their probation program. Monthly fees, mandatory rehabilitation classes, all funneling money back to the same corporate interests. How did you get this? I asked carefully, returning the papers to the envelope. My source works in corporate accounting. They've been documenting everything, waiting for someone to investigate. Maya's eyes gleamed. When they saw the videos of your arrest go viral, they knew it was time. I sat back, my mind racing. This was exactly what we needed. Proof of coordination between police and corporate interests. Evidence of intentional targeting of black shoppers. No one could dismiss this as a few bad apples or isolated incidents. We need to protect this, I said firmly. And your source. Already handled, Maya assured me. They've documented everything. Backed up files, multiple copies in secure locations. Smart. I tucked the envelope into my jacket. I'll scan these tonight. Create digital backups. But we need to move carefully. After what happened to my car. Your car? Maya's eyes widened. I told her about the vandalism, the threatening message, my growing suspicion about Harris. You think someone in the department is working with them? Maya asked. I know they are, I replied, my voice hard. Lieutenant Harris. I trusted him, told him about the investigation. Next thing I know, my car is vandalized with a warning. Only someone inside would know to leave that message. Maya's expression darkened. Then we keep this between us. No one else knows about these documents until we're ready to go public. Agreed. I checked my watch. I need to get these somewhere safe. Then we plan our next move. We parted ways outside the diner, Maya heading to her car while I drove home, the envelope secure in my jacket. My hand kept touching it during the drive, reassuring myself it was real. At home, I went straight to my study. The heavy wooden desk had been my father's, solid oak with a hidden compartment in the bottom drawer. I carefully placed the envelope inside, then locked the drawer with a key I wore around my neck. For the first time in weeks, I felt something like hope. The weight of isolation and betrayal lifted slightly. We had proof now. Not just witness statements or circumstantial evidence, but direct documentation of the conspiracy. I was making myself dinner when my phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice, distorted and mechanical. You should have stopped when you had the chance. The line went dead. I stood in my kitchen, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone. Another threat. More intimidation. They were getting desperate. Good. Desperate people made mistakes. I documented the call, adding it to my growing file of evidence. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I checked every window lock, every door, every possible entry point to my house. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow seemed to hide a threat. But I'd faced worse in my career. I'd survived patrol in the roughest neighborhoods, investigated murders and drug trafficking. I could survive this. The next morning, I woke to my phone buzzing with notifications. Social media was exploding with a new hashtag, #Justice for Carter. I scrolled through the posts, photos from my arrest, stories from other victims of rains, calls for protests and boycotts. The movement was growing faster than I could have imagined. One post caught my eye, a young black woman's video, already with over 1 million views. My name is Tiana Brooks, and I recorded the video of Captain Carter's arrest. But there's something you don't know, something I haven't shared yet. My heart raced as I watched. Tiana explained that she'd started recording before the confrontation, that she'd captured Rains entering the mall and speaking to the boutique manager before I'd even arrived. I have proof, Tiana said to the camera. Proof that Officer Rains set up Captain Carter, that he orchestrated the whole thing, and I'm ready to share it with the world. The video ended with a call to action, a protest at Greenwood Mall, this Saturday at noon. My phone rang. Carla. Did you see it? She asked without preamble. Just watched it. This is good, Denise. Really good. If that girl has footage of Rains coordinating with mall staff before your arrest, it destroys his entire narrative. We need to reach out to her, I said. Make sure she's protected. If they went after Maya, they might go after her too. Already on it. I've got her contact information. We're meeting this afternoon. The day passed in a flurry of activity. Carla met with Tiana. Maya worked on her article. The Justice Coalition organized the protest, and I compiled evidence, building our case piece by piece. By evening, the protest had grown from a local event to a national movement. News outlets were picking up the story. Civil rights organizations were demanding investigations. The pressure was mounting. My phone rang again. This time I recognized the number. Deputy Chief Williams. Captain Carter, we need to talk. My office. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. sharp. The line went dead before I could respond. I stared at my phone, knowing what was coming. They were going to suspend me. Maybe worse. Try to silence me before this whole thing exploded in their faces. But it was too late for that. The truth was already out there, spreading faster than they could contain it. I texted Carla. Deputy Chief wants to see me tomorrow morning. Bring your lawyer hat. Her response was immediate. I'll be there. That night I laid out my dress uniform, pressed every crease, polished every button. If they were going to try to take my badge, I'd make them do it while I stood in full uniform, representing everything they'd failed to be. I'd worn this uniform with pride for 20 years, believed in the oath I'd taken, served my community with honor. Now I was about to find out if the institution I dedicated my life to would stand with me or against me. The deputy chief's office felt like a tomb. Heavy curtains blocked most of the morning sun. Dark wood paneling absorbed what little light remained. Deputy Chief Robert Williams sat behind his massive desk, his face carved from granite. Lieutenant Harris stood in the corner, avoiding my eyes. Captain Carter, Williams began, his voice cold and formal. Thank you for coming. Did I have a choice? I asked, standing at attention in my dress uniform. Sit down, please. I remained standing. I prefer to stand, sir. Williams's jaw tightened. Very well. I'll get straight to the point. Internal Affairs has completed their preliminary investigation into the incident at Greenwood Mall. Incident? I repeated. Is that what we're calling a false arrest and assault by one of our officers? The investigation found that Officer Raines acted within department guidelines. Williams continued as if I hadn't spoken. However, your conduct during and after the encounter raises serious concerns. My hands clenched at my sides. My conduct? I was shopping. I was falsely accused. I was assaulted and illegally detained. You refused lawful orders from security personnel and a responding officer. Williams read from a paper on his desk. You failed to cooperate with a legitimate investigation. And since the incident, you've been conducting an unauthorized investigation that has damaged department morale and public trust. Unauthorized? My voice rose. I'm a police captain. It's my job to investigate misconduct. It's your job to follow the chain of command. Williams snapped. You've gone to the press. You've worked with activist groups. You've made inflammatory accusations without evidence. Without evidence? I pulled out my phone, pulling up the videos. There are dozens of recordings of what happened. Millions of people have seen the truth. Edited footage that doesn't show the full context. Harris spoke for the first time. You know how easy it is to manipulate video, Denise. I turned to face him. Is that what you're going with, Mark? After everything I told you? After I showed you the evidence? Harris looked away. Captain Carter. Williams stood, his voice taking on an official tone. Effective immediately. You are suspended without pay pending the outcome of the Internal Affairs investigation. You will surrender your badge and weapon. The words hit like physical blows. 20 years of service. 20 years of dedication. And they were taking it all away to protect a corrupt officer and a criminal enterprise. You're making a mistake, I said quietly. Your badge and weapon, Captain. With trembling hands, I removed my badge from my uniform. The gold shield felt impossibly heavy. I placed it on Williams's desk with a sharp click that echoed in the silent room. My service weapon followed. You will not discuss this case with the media, Williams continued. You will not conduct any further investigation. You will not contact any department personnel regarding this matter. Violation of these terms will result in immediate termination. Do you understand? I understand that you're protecting a criminal. My voice was steel. I understand that you're willing to destroy my career to cover up a conspiracy. I understand that everything I believed about this department was a lie. You're dismissed, Captain. Williams sat back down, already turning his attention to other papers on his desk. I walked out of that office with my head high, even though inside I was crumbling. In the hallway, other officers stared. Some looked sympathetic. Most looked away. Carla was waiting in the lobby, her face tight with anger. They suspended you? She asked, though she clearly already knew. Without pay. Pending investigation. I kept walking toward the exit. Let's get out of here. Outside, the morning sun felt harsh and unforgiving. I stood on the steps of the precinct where I'd worked for 2 decades, no longer a captain, no longer an officer, just another black woman who dared to challenge the system. What now? Carla asked gently. I thought about the evidence we'd gathered, the victims waiting for justice, the protest planned for Saturday, Maya's article ready to publish, Tiana's video waiting to be released. Now, I said, feeling something fierce and determined rising in my chest. Now we take the gloves off. The news of my suspension spread like wildfire. By noon, it was trending on every social media platform. The hashtag Thou's Justice for Carter had been joined by Thou Reinstate Carter Now. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. News outlets requesting interviews, supporters offering help, and more threats. Always more threats. I ignored most of them, but one call I answered. Maya. They suspended you, she said without preamble. They did. Then we publish. Today. Everything we have. Maya, are you sure? Once this is out there, there's no taking it back. They'll come after you hard. Let them try. Her voice was fierce. I've been writing this story for 6 months. I've checked every fact 3 times. It's solid. And now? Now you can speak freely. No department rules holding you back. She was right. The suspension had freed me in an unexpected way. I no longer had to worry about the chain of command or department protocols. Do it, I said. Publish everything. There's something else, Maya continued. I'm not the only journalist who's been investigating. The story is bigger than just our city. National outlets are interested. Civil rights organizations, the FBI. The FBI? Private probation systems that disproportionately target black citizens? That's a federal civil rights issue. I've got contacts. They want to talk to you. My head spun with possibilities. What had started as a personal humiliation was becoming a national conversation about systemic racism and corruption. Set up the meetings, I told Maya. But first, let's make sure that article hits hard. We spent the rest of the afternoon coordinating. Maya's article would publish at 6 p.m. Tiana would release her full unedited video at the same time. The Justice Coalition would hold a press conference immediately after. And I would finally tell my story, in my own words, to anyone who would listen. At 5:45 p.m., I sat in my living room, watching the clock. Carla sat beside me, laptop open, ready to monitor the response. My niece Kayla had come over too, insisting she wanted to be there when the truth came out. 30 seconds, Carla announced. I held my breath. At exactly 6 p.m., Maya's article went live. Systematic corruption. How police and corporate interests conspired to target black citizens for profit. The headline alone was explosive, but the content was devastating. Maya laid out everything. The financial connections between the mall, the probation company, and city officials, the arrest quotas, the coerced pleas, the victims' stories. And right there, in black and white, were the internal memos I'd given her, proof of the conspiracy. Within minutes, the article had thousands of shares. Comments flooded in. News alerts pinged across the internet. Then Tiana's video dropped. The unedited footage showed exactly what she'd promised. Rains entering the mall, conferring with the boutique manager Linda, waiting outside while I shopped. The coordination was clear and undeniable. He'd set me up, planned it, executed it, all captured on video. My phone exploded with notifications, text messages, calls, social media mentions. The response was overwhelming. Look at this, Kayla said, showing me her phone. It's trending #1, worldwide. I watched the numbers climb. Views, shares, comments. The story was spreading faster than anyone could have imagined. Then the first official response came. A statement from the police union condemning Maya's article as biased and inflammatory. They stood behind Officer Rains and demanded an apology. "They're not apologizing," I said. "They're doubling down." "Of course they are," Carla replied. "They have to. Admitting the truth would expose the whole system." More responses followed. The mayor calling for calm. City council members refusing to comment. The mall releasing a statement denying all allegations. But then something shifted. A retired police officer posted a video. He'd worked with Rains years ago. He'd seen the corruption firsthand. He'd stayed silent out of fear. Not anymore. His video opened the floodgates. More officers came forward. Not current ones, they couldn't risk their jobs, but retired officers. Officers who'd left the department. Officers who'd been forced out for speaking up. Each one added another piece to the puzzle. Rains wasn't an isolated case. The corruption went deeper than anyone had suspected. By 8 p.m., the story had evolved. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about decades of systematic abuse. About a system that protected the powerful and punished the vulnerable. At 9 p.m., my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Captain Carter, this is Special Agent Jennifer Morrison with the FBI's Civil Rights Division. We need to talk. This is the end of Part 3. Part 4 is coming up next.